ToneDeaf TV. This is Jim Murray, and we're here with Lupe Fiasco.
Hello, hello.
How you going?
I'm good. How's things?
Not too bad, not too bad. You're doing the Big Day Out tour at the moment.
Yeah.
How's that going? You enjoying that?
It's good. It's good. You know, so it's my third one, a headline this year, main stage. So, you know, it feels good. It's going well.
What's it like being on such a massive stage with so many people out in the crowd?
At first I was a little hesitant, you know,
Yeah.
because when I was coming up, they always had us on like the side stages or like the boiler room, and you get accustomed to that. You know, you get accustomed to that. You know what to expect. You know, the main stage is kind of like, you know, you don't know, and if nobody shows up at the main stage, you're gonna look really, really off.
You've had some pretty big crowds.
Yeah,
there,
but we
so
had some really massive crowds. So, you know, once that went away, we started to see that we're actually pulling a large part of the festival. So it feels good.
Yeah, well, you're obviously very popular in Australia now and so on, and you've got a new single and album coming out at the moment. I was just going through the lyrics of the new single, which is called Words I Never Said.
Yeah, Words I Never Said, yeah.
And yeah, so it's pretty politically charged and so on. I think it's certainly very spot on and so on.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that, brother.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's nice to hear maybe some common sense coming out of out of the situation
Some
in America.
uncommon sense.
Or some uncommon sense, yeah. Do you think there's a feeling in America at the moment that, you know, maybe the way things have been going over the last 10 years or something, you know, things need to change a bit? Obviously, having Obama elected was a you know, great step forward, but
it was a step. It was a step forward. For the history of America, it was definitely as far as our racial situation.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely was that. But as far as our political situation that we've had in America and our social situation that we had in America, I didn't really see anything beyond that. You know, I didn't see anything beyond the racial milestone and barrier that was kind of passed. But I think the political, economic kind of side of it, which is honestly way more important, to be honest with you, at this stage in the game that we are now, I don't think it was that. You know, I think the proof was to be in the pudding. You know, to see what pudding are you going to make, what flavor is going to be. And I think that has outweighed the race of it. You know, and for me, the precedent has already been set. There's already been, you know, every president in Africa is black, you know, so to speak. And their economic systems are way worse. And this, so there's the don't think just because we're black that we're economic geniuses, you know, or that we have the scruples to do what's right at the same time. Too. But I think the climate in America has always been one of change. Yeah. Always, because America always has problems. Yeah. You know, just like every other place in the world. But the one thing with America is America likes to create its own problems, you know, and then wallow in its own kind of problems, and then even handicap the solutions, its own solutions to the problems, and then extend our problems to other people, you know, and kind of blame it on other folks and blame it on other things as opposed to, you know, taking the vantage point of looking in the mirror and kind of trying to fix ourselves in the mirror. I always like to put it on other people and bomb them, and subjugate them, and corporately oppress them, and things of that nature. So I think you've always had the sentiment, and I even say this when I speak on the song. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been in the news. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been in the academic world. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been coming out of the mouth of Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck or Obama. I'm not saying anything different from what's already been out there and what's been said. For me, it's just kind of putting it to a different audience, or just you know, a rapper saying it, you know, and a rapper on my level of success. Because even with rappers, you know, people like Immortal Technique, people like Dead Prez, who've been saying this stuff for years, you know, and have been commenting on the social, economic, political situation in America and abroad for years, and do it way better than I did, and way more viscerally than I did. But now it's Lupe Fiasco saying it, which is sometimes it's not about what you say, it's about who's saying it. You know? So.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I noticed particularly with playing on the Big Day Out and the big stage and all that, you kind of almost got like a rock and roll band approach to your act, rather than just being kind of like a, you know, maybe hip hop acts we've been used to in the past and so on. You've got a real band approach. We were all lucky enough to go down to see Jay-Z with U2 recently, and he's just got a whole rock and roll approach and so on. obviously he's been a bit of a mentor to you and signed you. Has he that kind of influenced your act a bit?
No, not at all. Not at all. I definitely won't give him that. You know,
Okay.
Jay-Z has definitely influenced me musically in the different areas, but when it comes to performances, no. It actually is because of Big Day Out. You know, coming to Big Day Out and seeing, because when I first came here, I just had it was just me and the DJ.
Yeah.
But when you see acts, like when you're on the same stage as Prodigy, you
Yeah.
know, and you're on the same stage as the Deftones, and you're on the same stage as Rammstein, and you're on the same stage as these massive acts, and you see just the intensity and the energy of the performance, you want that. You know, you want the crowd to go crazy, like how the crowd goes crazy for the Bloody Beetroots. And if you look at what they have like a punk rock guy, like an electric guitar player, some dude well in the way on the drums, and he has this, that, and the third. And when you just look at the intensity of the performance, you want that, you know. And hip hop is has a very long-standing parallel relationship to rock and roll music. So you Aerosmith and Aerosmith Aerosmith and Run DMC.
Run DMC,
you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
Doing Work This Way and all that.
Public Enemy and I think Megadeth or Anthrax or whatever.
Collaborating.
So you've always had that.
Yeah.
You know, we've always kind of been in the same pocket. You know, we could rap over rock and roll tracks, I guess you could put it like that. So why not?
Yeah.
Why not let your show have the rock energy and the rock feel?
Speaking of which, can you tell us a bit about Japanese cartoon, the
Yeah.
rock band that you're playing?
Rock, it's me fully embracing that. Whereas
Yeah.
you look at Lupe Fiasco's show, you see hints of rock and roll in it. Japanese cartoon is a rock and roll band, and so much more. You know, we do in any type of genre of music that I've always been inspired by, I wanted to participate in. I do it through Japanese cartoon. So this first album, this is probably a punk metal medley of different sounds and what have you. You know, but basically rock. The next one might be a electro jazz album, you know, or what have you. It's just the freedom for me to kind of venture off into other genres of music.
You're also a very busy person, being a successful businessman and so on.
I'm not that successful. I'm not that successful. I do okay.
You've got your sort of company, First and 15th,
Yeah.
and also doing a fashion label with your colleague from Japanese cartoon and so on. Where do you find the time to sleep?
I sleep. You know, that's
Yeah.
probably why I'm not as successful as a businessman as I could possibly be. But you know, the First and 15th is the first company that I've been a part of and had an executive status in it. And, you know, we've done very well. You know, with myself, with just me being the first act off of it and the various acts that we work with and things we've done behind the scenes. Truly, which is the parent of the fashion stuff that I do, has been moderately good. Got a presence, you know, and it's really just, you know, one's related to the other. The more time that I spend on the music, the more that the fashion suffers. The more I spend on the fashion, you know, the music kind of suffers. You know, so it's really been the fight over the past few years has been finding that balance to pay attention to both of them, you know, in their way, and sometimes even just succeeding it. Like even now, these last few seasons for Truly and Truly have been me just appointing people to actually just go and do it and make it and bring it to fruition. But they're going, you know. It's just like everything else. It's creating that one good thing that people like and repeating it, and hopefully they'll latch on to it. We've yet to find it yet on the fashion side, but you know, I'm still working. Hopefully, it'll be massive. You know, but we'll see.
Just getting back to your point about, you know, the crossover between rock and roll and hip hop and so on. There's another thing that I've kind of been noticing with just how much people in hip hop collaborating these days, and you've obviously collaborated with Jay-Z to a degree, and with Kanye West and so on. How important do you think these sort of collaborations are in terms of, like, you know, you're expressing yourself artistically as well as, you know, getting new fans through collaborations, all that sort of stuff?
But they're good. You know, it's definitely a strength in numbers. Aligning yourself with the popular people, you know, for the moment or for the extended moment, if you look at Jay-Z or something like that. And just kind of putting your face next to their face, which is kind of the premise for that. And then the other part of it is really just that strength in numbers. You know, people wanting to see, you know, you would want to see Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in the same movie. You know, when Heat came out, it was like, oh my God, you got Pacino and De Niro. Oh my God, this is amazing. But then, you know, if you do it too much, it could kind of like, I don't really want to see them in the same movie anymore. I would like to see them in their own movie, kind of a situation. So as long as it's right, as long as the song is right and the music is right, because you could have these massive collaborations which are whack, and don't really have the intent that you wanted them to do, and then it might be those collaborations which aren't as massive, they might just be collaborating with this kind of obscure artist, and this obscure artist come together and they make something amazing, kind of a situation. So, it all this timing and making sure that the music itself is something, and it's not just the names, because people try to get by on the name. Oh, I got this guy and this guy and this guy, and you make a terrible song, So it's really just the quality of the music should be first.
Yeah. Now you've got the new album coming out in March. I understand there's a little bit of a hassle in getting it put out.
Yeah, the label artist thing is always the traditional long-standing relationship of happiness and flowers and balloons. No, it's the same creative control issues. And a little bit deeper in my case, but that was the premise of it. Just the controlling the creativity, and that can lead to various standoffs and halts. And,
You actually had fans protesting outside.
Yeah. That was actually the funny, because that was like when we were at the end of our rope. We were done. We were like, listen, if you put it out, you put it out. If you don't, you don't. Let us go. Let's go to another record list or whatever. But then to see fans come out and petition, which is the first thing, got 30,000 signatures, then turn around and they protest, and the threat of a protest gets a release date, and then with a release date, they still protest, and then now on the release day, they're still planning another massive protest and sit-in kind of a situation. So I call Lasers the People's Album, because they fought for it, they got it to fruition, they got it out, the people-powered album.
So tell me how apparently you're a big fan of Benny Goodman. How is that an influence on you?
I first wanted to play an instrument. The first instrument I seriously wanted to play was the clarinet, and it's because I watched, there was a movie about Benny Goodman, the Benny Goodman story, I think it was called, and I was just so blown away by the music, because I'm a big jazz fan, and that was my first time seeing it. It's like, wow, he's a white guy playing the clarinet, and he made that song? Oh my God, he made that song? And then kind of getting into his music after that, and was just kind of like, I want to play the clarinet like Benny Goodman, and just kind of, snowball. But I never did, because I'm completely incapable of playing an instrument.
Okay, great. And would you agree there's a big sort of like resurgence in appreciation of like jazz and soul at the moment? We've got so many artists that are like soul singers that are doing so well at the moment, topping the charts and so on.
Yeah, I don't think it ever went anywhere. I don't think the appreciation, I don't think the art form died off. I don't think it, you still have people coming out, whether it's just people like Robert Glasper, which is an amazing jazz pianist, which, or you have people in just extending the art form, of jazz. Whether even going back and replaying, or covering older records or what have you, but it's still reintroducing this a new style, this a new swing, this a new take, and I think jazz is one of those art forms that will always be here and always will evolve and always be something. And then you have things like with soul music, it is what it is. The blues is soul, you're always gonna have people speaking from their soul and speaking from their heart, and the style of the music, because it's like reggae. Like reggae is not gonna go anywhere. You can dance to it, which is probably most important. It gets you to move, and then there's the message in it. And then you have the talent of the singers. I don't think people just become talentless over time, or the masses lose their talent. You still have people that like Adele, who come through and can sing the shit out of the song. And she's only 23. Kind of a situation. So. I just think that it just speaks to the timelessness of the art form as a whole, and the timelessness of the genre. And so I think it'll always be.
Fantastic. Unfortunately, I think we have to wrap it up now, but thank you so much
Appreciate
for
it, thank you,
talking to ToneDeaf,
thank you.
Good luck with the new album and the tour and so on.
Thank you, brother.